All right, so before I get started, I want to get a gauge of where everyone is at on crypto. Hopefully, there's some people here that want to have a deeper understanding of NFTs and some of this stuff's just going over your head. So that's sort of what my presentation is geared towards. So if you're a crypto expert, raise your hand. All right, if you're a crypto noob, raise your hand. All right, cool. So we got a little bit of a range. So unlike all the other people that have probably been up here talking, I'm not a technologist. I am not a finance guy. I am marketing and creative my entire life, and I spent most of my career being, deeply involved in marketing campaigns. I'll get into that later, but I want to explain to you guys some of the high-level stuff of Web3, get a better understanding of some of these acronyms you hear, as well as talk a little bit about the culture of Web3, especially in these communities that are, these degen communities, if you will, and explain some, details on all the just the fun little terms and all the things of that nature. So here we go. All right, so from the top, I want to talk about some just a wide range of NFT stories here. So this right here is two widely different examples of NFTs. So back, and what do we have? 2021, Jack Dorsey sold a NFT of his first tweet for $3 million. Now, I'm not saying this was a good investment for anybody or that this isn't even a good use of NFTs, but this was just a random way that Jack Dorsey generated an additional $3 million selling a screenshot of his first tweet, just setting up my Twitter. Now, on the full flip side of this, obviously Jack Dorsey, people know who he is, and they were excited, and this was in the NFT craze. So people were, aping in and just thought somebody could flip this. The guy that bought that actually lost a shitload of money, and it was a horrible investment. So just keep that in mind. Now, on the flip side, a friend of mine, a pseudonymous artist named Soggy Apple Pie, started a Crypto Monkeys collection in 2020, and she generated over $100K in revenue in the first year on secondary markets. So she gave all of these NFTs away for free to a community she had built, and just in a collectible fashion of buying and selling, like trading cards, was able to generate over $100K in revenue. So she's just a normal graphic designer, made these cool, this is my crypto monkey that I got. So I just think that that's a really interesting example of how creatives like myself or anybody else you might know can build communities and generate revenue with with NFTs in ways that they never could without blockchain technology. All right, hit the wrong button, shocker. All right, so my promise to you on this presentation is that I'm going to open your eyes to some of the other possibilities of Web3 and get you a little more knowledgeable about NFTs, better understanding of Web3 culture, because it's a little weird. And if you've ever got into some of these Discords or Telegrams, people say some weird shit, and it's interesting to understand. So I'm going to break some of that down for you, remove some of them maybe cultural barriers there. And I want to inspire people to think about more of the future of Web3. So. All right, so what we're covering, Web3, the evolution of the internet, and we'll get into like what defines Web3 versus what isn't Web3, what's possible with some of this tech that you might not have thought about. Now, in this context, if you've been sitting here all day, you've probably heard some pretty interesting things already. And then some trends that I see just as, my background and what I think you guys should be looking out for. So, and here's a fun, weird image I generated with Midjourney just for fun, so. A little more about me, so you give some credence to what I'm talking about. I'm Colorful Carl. That's my artist handle if you need to look me up for any reason. Third-generation artist, super gamer nerd, love technology. That's me in my garden making some videos at last Halloween with a costume I made from scratch. And I'm also the Eastern Regional rep for the Graphic Artists Guild. So it's my job on the guild to represent creatives across the country, and I specifically work in the advocacy committee where I specialize in Web3 and AI. My bread and butter 9-to-5 thing is, I started Epic Made in 2006. We're a marketing and creative agency. We work with some of the biggest names in the world doing advertising, marketing campaigns. There's a little list of the clients there. So I've done some cool shit over the years, had a lot of fun, made some great art. What pulled me into the Web3 sector was actually, strangely enough, a deathbed promise to my father. While he was passing away from cancer, he was really upset that he never got his due with artwork. And he has this amazing collection of art. And hit 2021 when the NFT market started booming. My buddy calls me up. He's like, dude, I know you have this collection of your dad's stuff. He's like, do you know anything about NFTs? I was like, I guess. Not really at that point. So he starts talking to me about it. I get lost in it completely. And fast forward, I mint a first of its kind NFT art memoir where I took all of my father's artwork. I have 700 pieces, beautiful things, like 8 foot by 4 foot, all the way down to like little ones. And just, I told little stories about him and minted that into the metadata and recorded every piece of art he has and have created an immutable record of my father's creative legacy. So even if I don't get him to be a famous posthumous artist one day, somebody might in 30 years, as long as the Ethereum blockchain's still there and the IPFS pinning's still there, then that still has potential. And there's something magical about that. Not to mention royalties and wallets that I could will to my child and my grandchild that could make money off of my father's artwork generations from now. Like, that's really powerful. There's no other systems that can do that kind of stuff. So anyways, I also do a live art show, have a podcast all about creativity and business, intersection of that. So enough about me. Let's roll into a little Web3 culture. So if you're not in Web3, you might read this statement and have no idea what they're talking about. So let me read it for you in my best Web3 bro voice. All right, so bro, I just got this sick soul NFT airdrop from a 10K PFP. They're fully doxed. I've been shilling in Discord for weeks. I'm so hyped and everyone is aping in. You got to get your bag, bro. Hodl to the moon, LFG, right? So if you're not in the space, you have no idea what that means. So I'm going to translate that for you. Sorry for the ridiculousness of this. But anyway, so bro, I just got this sick soul NFT. So they got an NFT on the Solana blockchain, and they think it's great, okay? It's been airdropped from a 10K PFP. So airdropped is something that got sent to your wallet. You didn't mint it. You didn't go get it. You're on a list somewhere because of your wallet address. You've been airdropped this for some participation in some community or somewhere you registered, right? A 10K PFP is a 10,000 unit profile picture collection. Think about Bored Apes, CryptoPunks. 10K is kind of a standard that people usually do in the space. It could be any number, and PFP stands for profile picture. So that's, like I said, like a Bored Ape or CryptoPunk, like a chest up picture of some funky face of something. Fully doxed means they're not anonymous. So these aren't people hiding behind pseudonyms and all these sort of things. This is an upfront collection by Fred. Fred operates here. You can talk to Fred. You can message Fred. That kind of stuff. Shilling in Discord for weeks shilling is promotion. So in Discord is a chat service. I'm sure we all know what Discord is. But that's where a lot of these NFT communities live. Discord, Telegram, Twitter are basically the big three spots there. I'm hyped. Everyone knows what hyped is. Aping in is just buying something at reckless abandon. Like, people aren't even, they're just so excited they got to get theirs. They're not even really doing their research, like just getting crazy with it, right? Get your bag is like, you got to get one. Hodl to the moon. I think, that's just, hodl's it's actually a trading term that I think originated in stocks, but hodl was actually a misspelling of hold, and now it's just become this thing in the space, right? Hodl to the moon is just hold it till it's worth 10x, 100x, whatever. And LFG is let's fucking go. So, yes, it is that as well. But that isn't where it started. But yeah, I forgot about that. You're right. Thank you. Cool. So Web3 basics. The first two webs weren't good enough. Here we are at Web3. So Web 1 is defined as the dawn of the internet. This is 28.8. This is dial-up modems, that lovely beeping noise. I still don't know if that noise served any utilitarian purpose. I want to find this out. Were they just trying to annoy the shit out of us with this like beeping, clicking, buzzing noise for 30 seconds? Or does that actually mean something? We may never know. Web 2 is basically the user-generated content, right? This was all centralized around these big companies, right? MySpace was the first one to hit mass adoption, I feel like. And then obviously Facebook started dominating. Then you have Twitter and Instagram and all the things come up. But Web 2 really focused around the dawn of user-generated content. But now, in the current state, anything that isn't Web 3 is considered Web 2. But the real push of that was that user-generated content. That was the Web 2 phase, the first big kind of utility of the space and mass adoption across everybody, right? Now, as we talk about Web 3, what that really means is anything that utilizes shared ledger technology, right? So that started with Bitcoin, but anything that uses an altcoin or even doesn't even have to have a coin, just using shared ledger, that's considered part of a Web 3. As I understand it, there's a lot of people in here that know a lot of things, so I'd be interested to hear some feedback and thoughts on that. But anyhow, it's cool. More Web3 terms, because there's plenty more stuff for us to remember. How exciting. All right, so blockchain, you hear anyone mention that, that's anything that's got a decentralized distributed ledger. That's considered blockchain. DeFi is decentralized finance. All that is something that trades on crypto of any sort. And then we have DApp. DApps are decentralized apps. These are usually run on DAOs, which are decentralized autonomous organizations. These are things that basically help democratize and govern different organizations like a DApp. Docs, as I mentioned earlier, that just means it's not anonymous. I'd never heard that term prior to Web3, but that there it is. Fiat, another term I'd never heard used really at all until there was non-fiat currency, crypto. So fiat is any government-backed currency. You also hear things about gas. Gas is basically transaction fees on the blockchain. These are usually measured in GUI. If you're working in Ethereum, there's different measurements for different blockchains. Metaverse isn't an exclusively Web3 thing. Old video games like The Sims or EverQuest or these kind of things, those were metaverses in their day as well. But metaverse is this new term that does have a lot of interoperability with the future of Web3. And then you'll hear about rugs a lot in the space. Rug is just a pump and dump. It's a select group of people will build up a token or an NFT collection, and the people in the know will all pull out at the same time, and everybody else loses their money. That's a rug. Cool. Big thing to think about in Web3 is that it's really designed to be an equitable and decentralized version to kind of the antithesis of Web2, and I mentioned that a little earlier. So. All right, this is an old screenshot but I think it's kind of cool. So this is about a year ago, right? Last September when I took this screenshot. Look at these numbers. So these are the Web3 currencies. But like Bitcoin a year ago was 25K, right? So what is it now? 50 something? It spiked to like 70 something. So you could have anyway. So I don't need to get into that. But these are some of the leading cryptocurrencies in the space, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, and these are just based on 24-hour traded volume last September. But it's important to notice that Bitcoin is your primary coin in the space, right? It pretty much has everything is connected to that in the market. We saw that in some of the earlier speeches with some of the graphs on that. Anything that is not Bitcoin is an altcoin. So just some clarity on that level. And then we have stable coins. That's anything tethered to the US dollar, USDC, USDT, those types of things. We also have centralized and decentralized exchanges. So centralized, like Coinbase, right? These are people. These are organizations that basically have. There's someone there to help you out if you screw something up, right? If you have your decentralized exchange and you're doing things there, there's no one governing what tokens go on there, and it's pretty much the wild, wild west. So you need to do more homework in a decentralized space versus in a centralized space if you're trading on those exchanges. Cool. Decentralized exchanges are like Uniswap, PancakeSwap, SushiSwap. Centralized, obviously, Crypto.com, Coinbase. Those are the big ones in the States. And then, so cool. All right, Web3 wallets. You need a wallet to interact with any blockchains. Again, there's custodial and non-custodial. This is sort of like centralized versus decentralized. Coinbase has a centralized wallet, right? That's a custodial wallet, meaning they are in control of that. Like when I was first getting into Web3, I sent some tokens to my Coinbase wallet on a non-supported blockchain. They were able to retrieve those and send them back for me to my MetaMask. That doesn't happen in a decentralized area. So if you have your own custodial wallet, meaning you're in charge of the keys, if you send something somewhere, it's gone. Like you can't get it back. So that's a huge thing to be mindful of. That it's basically cash and you're in charge. So you've got no one to blame but yourself if you lose your stuff there. It's really important. Your public keys are like your mailing address to your house. I live at XYZ address on yada yada street. You can give that to anybody. That's where you can send and receive crypto to. Your private keys you never share with anybody. Mine are written down in a fireproof safe at my house, and I have a couple of redundancies. If you lose those and lose access to your wallet, your crypto's gone. There's Bitcoin wallets right now with millions of dollars of Bitcoin in it, and nobody can access them because either the people died, they lost their keys from very early on. So it's really, really important. No one's here to save you in Web3 and in the non-custodial space if you've lost your private keys. So hot storage versus cold storage is important to understand. So hot storage is anything that's, a MetaMask, your Trust Wallet. These are all live wallets that you interact with, through exchanges and all those sorts of things. They're considered less safe because you could interact with any number of contract on accident and have someone, and I'll get into some scams and things to be mindful of later. But long story short here, there's physical offline cold storage that have, basically like dongles or thumb drives or Bluetooth that requires a physical thing to interact with your wallet. Those are considered your safest space to hold crypto. Some of my favorite wallets, Ledger Wallet, Trust Wallet, MetaMask, these are ones you should look into if you're just starting out. I highly recommend starting with a custodial wallet on a crypto.com or a Coinbase. All right, so now we've got all that base knowledge away. Everybody, I think, is on the same page there. You guys probably are more attuned into crypto than I've done this speech a couple times to different audiences. So anyway, so Web3, we're in the smart contract phase. No one likes a dumb contract anymore. So look, the smart contract is set up between two parties with a predefined contract terms triggered by an event that then creates an execution and a settlement. So that's how a smart contract works. So let's say you and I make a bet on a basketball game, right? And I think the Lakers are going to win, and you think the Celtics are going to win. We set an oracle to be, 3 different news outlets, right? And after the game, the contract checks these 3 different websites, Fox, MSNBC, whoever's putting out the game scores. It will say, all right, well, these 3 all say the Celtics won, I always say Celtics, I don't know. the Celtics won, and now, authenticates, right? So it executes that transaction and then settles the money. So we both put in $50, you won, you get $100, I don't get anything, I'm sad. The beautiful part about smart contracts, it no longer requires human beings to be ethical, to be of their word. Like, we could make a deal that we're going to bet on this game together, and my team lost, and now I'm butthurt about it, and I don't want to give you my $50. That doesn't happen in Web3. We agreed to it. It locks it up. It happens no matter what now. That's the power of smart contracts. So the leading use case and the thing that really brought this to height was the big fad, the craze in 2021 of NFTs, with these, PFP collections, crypto kitties, and then obviously came into, Bored Apes and all that sort of stuff and all the excitement that happened there. So I'll have some more innovative use cases later that are super excited. But the long story short that you should understand about smart contracts is any type of logic that we can program in can then be put into a smart contract and set up with the predefined contract terms. Everyone agrees to those with all the wallets that interact based on certain events. And when those events happen, it triggers the execution and then settlement. That's really, really powerful. So thinking about if-then settlements and any type of variables you could program into that. They remove the need for human integrity and ethics and make it very, very defined of what's going to happen, when, and why. And no one gets to have an opinion after it's set up and signed, which is amazing. Wrong button again. Shocker. All right, cool. So into the Fungiverse. So these are the big players last year at this time. All this stuff is from coinmarketcap.com, by the way, if you want to pull any of this data. It aggregates across all the different blockchains. But the number one, just a 24-hour traded volume on Bored Ape Yacht Club, like I said, last September, 1,116 ETH. In one day. That's crazy. Right, so I think they have like a 10% royalty on that as well. So every time those things flip, Yuga Labs, who owns Bored Apes, Mutant Apes, Punks, they own CryptoPunks, all get their royalties every time this stuff flips. That's really powerful for creators, right? And this is obviously all community driven, right? So I'll get into that a little more here in a bit. So big analogy I like to demonstrate for like an NFT and fungibility. So fungibility is a term that I never heard before I got into Web3. Fungibility is just the idea that like if you have a dollar bill here and another dollar bill over here with US dollars, right? And we swap those dollar bills, there's no exchange of value. It's the exact same thing, right? As an NFT, I like to think about it like this. If I have a dollar bill and you have a dollar bill, they're fungible, right? But if I wanted to make mine unique, I could do a piece of art on it. Let me draw on top of this dollar bill and turn it into some funky piece of art. It's no longer fungible, meaning my dollar bill is now unique, and this one is what it was before. So if I'm a famous artist now, and I've done some piece of art on this, let's say I'm Picasso, this dollar bill is worth a lot more than a dollar bill now. And if I'm not a famous artist and I just deface this money's probably no longer worth anything, right? So that's that's the other flip side of it. But that's the idea of fungibility, right? So when you take a piece of crypto and you permanently pen it on the blockchain in the immutable record with a smart contract to any type of digital file, that can be a piece of art, a JPEG or a video file or any kind of digital file. It could be a PDF or a Word doc, anything. That then becomes a non-fungible token, right? So it's unique on the blockchain. It is not interchangeable with anything else, and it's special now, essentially. So, yeah, so again, NFTs are part of Web3. The predominant use case for smart contracts really boomed with these NFTs. You've heard all kinds of amazing other ways that NFTs are being used in the previous panels up here as well. There's some royalties is a really powerful thing, which got the creative community excited at large, and the idea that we can make these things, like I said earlier on, and I can mint an NFT now, and that can be generating royalties for the rest of my life to these wallets, which is crazy powerful and allows for so many different ways of revenue and just building up a creative community around your work, which is really, really powerful. Some of the top exchanges right now, Blur, OpenSea's, Immutable, these sort of change. OpenSea dominated the market for a long time. Blur came in within the past year and a half and really actually superseded OpenSea's, but it just goes back and forth. Last I checked, I think OpenSea had more traded volume. But like I said, it changes. PFP craze, like I said, standard collection size on those was 10K for a long time, and that's what people were expecting. They were building these PFPs out of generative, not AI generative, but generative collections where you will build a collection of assets on an avatar, right? So let's say there's like a picture of a creature, from the chest up, has a different face feature, hat feature, all the different things. You guys are familiar with that. There'll be 20 or 30 different assets that can go to any one of those categories, and then you run it through a randomizer to output a unique asset each time. So we made a collection in October with my company for a company launching a new NFT management platform. We made 380 unique assets of this like medieval fantasy PFP collection that had like wizards and like this cyborgy type race and all this stuff. But it was really fun to see. All right, we created these 380 unique assets for 8 different slots, but what came out the other side was just this random excitement and really cool looking creatures. It was just fun to be a part of that. But that's kind of the standard of how PFPs have been done over the past couple years. Yeah. Cool. Everybody up to speed here? Am I going too fast or are we good? Everybody's good? Good? Okay, good. All right. NFT myths. Don't believe all the things you hear. Like NFTs are crazy harmful to the environment. They have no purpose. They were a fad or they're all a scam. Obviously, these aren't the case. I'm preaching to the choir here on this, so we won't spend much time on it. Here's some charts, just in case you hear someone like complaining about how Web3 is terrible for the environment, right? Carbon emissions of Bitcoin compared to other industries. Obviously, Bitcoin's barely on the radar here, and that's a proof of work coin. So proof of stake is a fraction of that, 99.9% less energy consumptive. So keep that in mind as well when you look at the other chart over here of estimated energy consumption of Ethereum versus other industries. So we're really talking about it's not really, the problem is how we're generating electricity, and especially in the case of Bitcoin, where their biggest overhead is electricity usage. A lot of them are pushing renewables and wind and the hydroelectricity to bring their costs down. So that's just something to keep in mind there. So let's talk about some more use cases of NFTs. Cool, so a bunch of JPEGs are going to change the world. This is the digital ownership economy is what we're talking about here, right? Creating scarcity in a digital space that was not previously possible without Web3 and blockchain technology. So the first and foremost thing, Beeple sold first 5,000 days, which is this piece you see on the left here, which is 5,000 unique pieces of art that he did sequentially over 5,000 days in his life. Minted that Christie's auction house. I think it went for $69 million, which is the second highest sale of a living artist piece of artwork. So like no one in the history of mankind, other than one guy, has sold a piece of artwork while they were alive for more money than that. Which is crazy, right? You have Grimes here sold a music video for $389K, which is wild as an NFT, obviously. And just some other spaces where we have the digital assets. So the metaverse and gaming, this is going to be huge. We're doing a panel on this tomorrow as well. But basically, there's a digital fashion play here. We're talking about gaming and skins. And Roblox, Gucci and Roblox did a collaboration where they literally had a Gucci bag that you could have on your avatar in Roblox, and they sold it for $5,000. So now someone has a $5,000 digital asset that they can play Roblox with that is an official Gucci bag. It also came with a real-life Gucci bag, but it's just crazy, right? It's crazy to think about. But this is all, we've all seen Ready Player One. I'm sure this crowd has. We're leaning more and more into that space, right? We're leaning into a world where people have a digital life and a digital experience that they care about how they're presented in. My kid's 12 years old, spends half his life playing online video games with people all over the world and VR and all, and then, your traditional Xbox and PlayStation. But skins are massively important to people. So this digital ownership economy where you can prove that you own a thing in a digital space and have it in your sandbox or your Decentraland or whatever the metaverse that takes off and grabs hold is, that's going to be important to people that they have a thing and this is part of their identity because half their life is digital, a good portion of it, and it's going to get more and more as the generations get older. Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they live this stuff already, right? So like the older we are, the less that makes sense. Like, I'd spend money on a skin, but you see games like Epic Games, they did Fortnite. Everyone told Fortnite that there was no way they could, or Epic Games, there's no way they could monetize a game on the level they are just selling cosmetic items. Their entire platform generates more money than any other game, and they just sell skins. It's literally doesn't have any utility in the game other than you look cooler than somebody else. So keeping that in mind, as this takes off and we have more and more people want to be able to prove they own cool things in the space, this is going to be huge. Like I said, PFP collections, you've seen that in Twitter. Anybody that's deep in the crypto space wants to prove they've been here, they're an OG, and they have a punk or an ape, that's their profile picture on Twitter every time. For a while, Twitter had a thing before Elon took over where if you could authenticate it with your wallet, it would turn your icon into a hexagon. They've since removed that, but I would imagine that will come back eventually. You can buy virtual land in metaverses, Sandbox, Decentraland, I talked about that. So that's huge. Those are going to be, like I said, as these metaverses take off, certain pieces of land are going to have higher and higher and better exposure and opportunity costs. Even if you go into Decentraland now, and it's all kind of fallen off where it was at its peak, property closer to 000 is worth more than things further away from the center, as that's where people come in through and has more traffic. So think about a world where people spend a lot more time in the digital space. There's going to be value and people selling digital assets inside of a metaverse, right? I want to advertise on this digital billboard that's close to this Times Square inside of, Decentraland. These are all things that are going to be able to be controlled within a Web3 ecosystem. Oh, this is an extra slide. So more use cases. This is my buddy. He bought a Bored Ape early on. Early guy, got him. I think he minted it. And now he's created an entire comic series just based off his licensing right as owning this Bored Ape as put out by Yuga Labs. So he's been able to build an entire business around that. You've heard some other things in the space here as well about digital ownership economy going into, like we were talking about supply chain earlier. Real estate, people are tokenizing any kind of goods, titles. There's actually companies that are already doing this now where a title to a home is an NFT and trading that on the blockchain is a way better system than some of these other antiquated systems, especially for deeds and titles, right? You don't need title insurance when you know where this has been the entire time, right? Stuff like that. I think documents, contracts, NDAs. We have ebooks, comics. There's a Web3 play for all of those things, especially luxury goods too. Being able to authenticate with an NFT that this watch is an authentic Rolex from this, that, and this is not a Rolex for the record, but I think these are all amazing use cases of NFTs that we will see come to fruition soon. So. These are some cool NFT projects if you're into looking at, CryptoPunks, CryptoKitties, NBA Top Shots, VFriends, Bored Ape Yacht Clubs. Those images are swapped. I apologize. I exported out. PowerPoint did its own thing here. But yeah, Visa bought one of these CryptoPunks for $150K. So that's a huge adoption from a big company. It's more of a statement piece for Visa, but you understand. Yeah. I'm running out of time here, so I don't want to spend too much more time. But these are VFriends and Bored Ape. So this VFriend elephant last sale was 130 ETH. So these are it takes a village to build these communities, right? You can't just put together an NFT collection and launch it and expect anyone to buy it. You have to build a community. It has to mean something to people. There has to be deep utility for your NFTs, or people are not going to buy them. So you can't just make something that looks cool, that might have worked, 3-4 years ago, but now it's all about the utility. What does this token unlock for me? Is it special group chats? Is it a networking thing? Is it parties? If Bored Apes has parties that you can only get into if you scan your Bored Ape. So now you have stuff where there's A-list celebrities in the room with some guy that minted an NFT from middle America nowhere for $30, $40 a few years ago, and now he can go to parties with Eminem and Snoop Dogg, right? That's crazy. That's a really awesome community building there. Again, I mentioned earlier, Twitter, Discord, Telegram, that's where all these the places where the people hang out and build these communities. So if you're looking to do that, you need to build a community there. Yeah, and then one of my favorite things is the Crazy Carl Collective. I won't get too much into that. Great community of builders. That's what that middle NFT is. That's my little samurai. A bunch of ape holders in there, really building cool things. Got their own a couple different collections of music, comics, PFP collection, meme coins, all the stuff. So it's good stuff. So always do your own research there when you're trying to find communities, and it is all about the community that drives these values. So in the future, I think we've already seen the government bring in the FedNow system, which is built on top of a blockchain. PayPal is integrating now to their PayPal accounts. It's coming to the U.S. now, where you can have crypto on your PayPal account. So what we're looking for here is mass adoption, and that's going to happen when people that aren't Web3 junkies, that didn't come out to a Web3 conference, don't even know they're interacting on Web3, right? Like if I can get crypto on my PayPal account, well, I've been doing PayPal for 10, 15 years now. Like that's no different of a user experience. So that's when it's going to hit mass adoption. I think that metaverses are going to blow up here soon. People are going to expect you to have a presence in Web3 just like they did in Web2, right? So if you're a business right now, you don't have a Facebook page and a website and an Instagram or a Twitter, like people don't take you serious. That's going to happen at some point in the future here with Web3 as well. I think there's a huge, huge opportunity in Web3 to build community like nothing else I've ever seen. And I just really hope that everybody takes the time to do that. Be aware of phishing scams, DM scams. Keep your keys safe. Never share your private keys with anyone. Hugely important. If you're in Discord or even Twitter, you're not special. You did not win anything. If somebody's DMing you that you won some shit, just click here. Don't do it. Never do it. That's always a scam. So that's my advice on there. Always do your own research. I've mentioned a bunch of things here. These are my opinions. Again, I'm not a tech expert, I'm not a finance expert. I'm a marketing and creative guy. These are my opinions, but I hope that this sparks some interest for you all. And if you'd like to follow up with me or talk any creative, talk marketing, talk Web3, I have a podcast, Pixel Retentive, you can check out, and you can check out anything you want on my website. All that's up there with my art and all the cool stuff too. So, cool. All right. Any questions? Go ahead, Angel.
Are you currently minting with a platform, or are you minting on your own? And how do you feel about storing those assets on PermaWeb as compared to IPFS?
Yeah, so I haven't minted anything in the past year, and I'm signing with a company right now to handle me as an artist. So I'm going to let them decide what the best space is to mint. But previous to this, I had a company called Hypernet helping me mint, and they pinned everything on IPFS. So, yeah.